What's up, Bulldogs? All right, today we're going to be talking about dealing with family, especially for those of you guys that are living with your parents. I think that it's not a great idea. I talk about never letting someone get their hooks in you, because as soon as someone has their hooks in you, you're going to have to eventually pay that price, just like the Godfather movie where he's like, hey, you're going to owe me a favor someday. You never want to have that scenario. We're going to jump into an email here where we're going to discuss some of the things that are going on here. And you'll probably relate to a lot of these things, if not living with your parents, dealing with your parents, or dealing with other people who don't believe in you, who don't share the same kind of views as you. And especially as you're increasing your self-awareness and developing yourself as a person, you're going to find that there's a lot of people that do not share that viewpoint, and that are actually going to come at you with negative energy when you start to do this, because it's like crabs in a bucket, right? People don't like to be reminded of their own shortcomings in life, and they don't like to see you changing and becoming something different, because not because they dislike you or hate you, it's because it scares them. So let's jump into the email here and we'll just kind of break this down. All right, so, okay. Hopefully you can read this. So he says, hey, John, I just have to say I've learned so much from you, and I have been watching your YouTube channel for a while, but recently, like 10 days ago, I legit have watched all your videos and took notes to implement it in my life. Wow, that's crazy. I have over 3,000 videos. So if you've watched all of my videos, I don't know. That's a lot of hours, but I appreciate it. But might not be the best thing for you to sit and watch all my videos as much as I like my videos. So, all right. I think you are producing great content and giving me a lot of concrete examples on how to be wealthy, fit, get girls that I want, and just become a man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, thank you. I appreciate you subscribing to the channel, and I'm glad I could help you guys out. So he says, so I dropped out of UC Berkeley in the fall of 2020, just recently. There are many obvious reasons why I dropped out that are external, but internally, I did not like the young man I was becoming. I'm currently 23 and moved back in with my father. So, you know, I'm not going to go into all the details here with college and dropping out of college or not. Hopefully the audio is not too bad. I just realized my mic was really far away. So anyway, I'm not going to go into all the details of that, but you got to make sure, you know, if you're dropping out of college, if you're quitting anything, and that you're quitting it for the right reason. The right reason is not because it's hard and you don't like it. That's the wrong reason to quit things. The right reason to quit things is because it's the wrong life choice for you. It's not something that's going to be good for you in the long run. So hopefully you made the choice coming from that place and not the choice of this is hard, I quit. In fact, a lot of guys I surprise them when they're like, hey, should I drop out of college? Because I'm anti-college. I think college is a waste of time and a waste of money. But I tell a lot of guys that ask me if they should drop out of college to stay in college. The reason why I tell them to stay in college is because the reasons they're giving me for quitting college are not valid reasons. They're telling me they don't like it. It's too hard. Their teachers don't like them, all kinds of bullshit excuses. And when you're in that kind of situation, you should stick it through, because it's more important to develop grit and perseverance in life and discipline than making a choice of quitting college. Because if you can't make it through college, you're not going to make it through anything else that you need in life. So, all right, let's jump to the next part here. So he says here, I pay $500 a month in rent, and my dad's wife lives here, as well as my sister, who comes every other week. The problem is exactly what you made a video about: obligations. My father puts obligations on me and expects that I do what he expects of me. For example, when I get home from doing Lyft, I want to work on my web development skills and grow myself, but my father expects me to socialize with him. He does not say this directly, but the energy in the house, I can feel the resentment, and it is not conducive to a good working environment. Okay, so a few things here. All right, so it's a little bit different situation. You're paying your father $500 a month in rent, so to some degree you're a tenant, but you're still dependent on your father. You're still living in his house, even if you're paying some rent. I mean, if you weren't paying any rent at all, I'd say tough luck, deal with it. You know, that's what you get. You know, if you're freeloading off of someone and it's their house, they get to set the rules. All right. But here's a couple things I'll say about this. So don't misconstrue the video I made before about putting obligations on people, right? You said the problem is exactly that. Your father puts obligations on you and expects you to do what he expects of me, right? So you in any situation, any kind of situation like this, you need to understand and know who's doing who a favor, right? And usually it's both parties thinks they're doing the other person a favor, right? So for example, let's say you're buying a car from a buddy, right? If you're buying a car from a buddy, he thinks that he's giving you a good price because you're doing him a favor, or he's doing you a favor, right? At the same time, you think that buying this car off of your buddy, that you're doing him a favor by making it so that he doesn't have to sell it to someone else and put it up for sale and deal with other people. So it's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for conflict, because as soon as there's a disagreement over the price or something that happens with the car, he's going to be like, you asshole, I'm doing you a favor by selling you my car at a cheaper discount. Why are you paying me back with not being grateful? And then on your end, you're going to think, you asshole, I'm doing you a favor in buying this car from you. So why are you not showing gratitude that I am being a good friend and buying this car off of you so you don't have to try and sell it in the secondary market, right? So you're both expecting from each other. Okay, so the reason why I say this, coming back to the main topic, is that if your father, even if you're paying $500 a month rent, most likely your father thinks he's doing you a big favor and doing a big service to you by letting you stay there in his house, even though you're paying the rent, right? He believes that he's doing something for you. So that's where he has his hooks in you, right? That's why he feels that you should be obligated to him, that you should do what he expects of you, right? That's an obligation that is based on him thinking that he's doing you a favor, right? So you have to understand that from his perspective. Now, you have a very practical choice in front of you, okay? You cannot reason with him in the sense that you're not going to convince him that he's not doing you a favor, and you're not going to convince him that you're your own man and you can do whatever you want. I mean, you can convince him, and the way that you convince him of that is by moving out and getting your own place so that you're not dependent on him at all, and that he cannot think that he's got it doing you a favor, and he cannot have his hooks in you, and then you can do whatever the fuck you want. But as long as you're living in his house and he believes that he's doing you a favor, you're not going to escape the situation. He's going to make you feel obligated. Okay, now what you can do is ignore his making you feel obligated, right? You can say, hey, Dad, I'm paying $500 a month to live here. If you want to throw me out, but I'm not going to sit in front of the TV and watch and eat TV dinner with you and gossip about people. I got shit to do. All right. That's, again, maybe not use those exact words, but that's the attitude that you're going to have. And you can do that as long as you're willing to get thrown out of the place, and believe me, I would advise that would be the attitude that you take. All right. Now, you said, when I get home from doing Lyft, I want to work on my web development skills and grow myself, but my father expects me to socialize with him. He does not say this directly, but the energy in the house, I can feel the resentment. Okay, so here's another thing that I need you to do as a man. I need you to use your voice and to actually say things instead of implying things, right? So if you think that your father wants you to socialize with him, that he has an expectation, but he's not saying it directly, you need to ask him directly. You can say, hey, Dad, I want to go in my room and work on my web development skills and grow myself. Okay. Do you expect me to come out here and talk to you, or are you cool with that? Right. This way you're forcing his passive aggressiveness into the light by being directly aggressive. And again, we don't really have to use the terms aggressive here, but what he's doing is covert communication, possibly. I mean, you're trying to be a detective and trying to pick up on the signals and the cues. He may not even have any expectation. This may be all in your head. You never know until you actually ask someone, right? Never be in the situation where you assume someone else's motive and assume things. And even when it seems like they're sending you the signals, just call it out. Just be direct about it, especially if people are actually being passive aggressive to you, right? This is one of the things I talk about all the time, is when someone is passive aggressive, you respond with aggressive, direct behavior. You call out the thing, right? So don't be afraid to ask him. Just say, hey, and maybe he says, yeah, I do kind of expect you to socialize with me. Then you can make a choice. You can say, great, I'm okay with that. Or no, I'm not okay with that. I'm going to go. And I appreciate that you want to, but I have something that I need to do. Or you negotiate something, or you say, hey, look, you know what? I don't want to be disrespectful of you. This is your house. I appreciate you that you want to socialize with me. How about if I spend half an hour or a certain day, and then the rest of the time I'm going to spend working? So you negotiate something instead of, living in this situation where you're upset at him, he's upset at you. None of you are talking about what you're actually upset about. It's ridiculous, right? So just call it out. All right. Just ask him. All right. Now, he says, additionally, when I was living in Berkeley, California, my father took my room with his wife and made my sister's old room his office, which I can't use when he is not there, and put me and my sister in the same room. She's 15 years old and growing into a woman. I say this because she is starting to do those bullshit tests to me, even as her brother, and it's frustrating. I've walked away. I do not know how to respond, but the problem, I have to go to the same room to sleep. So, okay. You need to get right out of that house right now. You should not be sharing a room with your 15-year-old sister, okay? She's turning into a woman, but it's not just because she's giving you shit tests, all right? She's turning into a woman because she's actually physically turning into a woman, and you shouldn't be sleeping in the same room with your 15-year-old sister. It's not cool. It just doesn't send the right messages anyway. It just does not look good. So I would not, yeah. You cannot do that. Are you going to go out on any kind of dates? Maybe you're not dating right now, but plenty of guys are like, yeah, I live at home with my mom. But I think if you're like, yeah, I live at home and I share a room with my 15-year-old sister, survey says no. That is not the answer to have. That was not on our survey at all. Zero respondents answered, I live at home with my 15-year-old sister and sleep in the same room. So it's just one step away of sleeping in the same bed. So no, do not do that. So you have to just get out of the house. You can't do that at all. Definitely changes my advice here. That's ridiculous, right? That's just absolutely ridiculous. So not a good situation. I can't say any more than to just get out of there as fast as you can. Not good. All right. If you have right now, what you should do while you're watching this video is, if you don't have a place to live, you go and you sleep on the couch. Okay. You don't sleep in the same room as your 15-year-old sister. I'm not trying to shame you. I realize that you didn't put yourself in the situation, but I'm telling you now that as a man, you're 23? Yeah. You just not good. Do not do that. All right. The main problem is I have no privacy to work and grow, and that just frustrates me. I do not like the obligations that are put on me. Last week, my dad decided to have a gathering at the house and decided to help clean up the house to make it presentable. When I did not decide to throw a gathering, he did. My plan was to move to Austin, Texas, and just start my life over as a man in a different state where my family cannot reach me. Okay. So again, are you really going to get into this little pity party and this, I didn't want to throw a gathering and my dad did, so I had to clean up the house? What do you sound like? You sound like a little kid. And the reason why is because you're reverting to a little kid because you're living and depending on your dad, right? And you're letting him have all these ridiculous rules over you because you're not stepping out on your own as a man. So forget about the house cleaning thing. That's ridiculous. It doesn't matter, right? But the biggest thing that you said here is that you want to move to Austin and start your life over in a different state where your family can't reach you. I 100% agree with that. But let me caution you one thing, okay? I think you need to move out. I think moving away from your family would be great. It does not sound like a very great environment. If your dad was okay with you sleeping in the same room as your 15-year-old sister, that's just, it's not good. All right. But you have to actually deal with your family. You can't just run away from them. You have to actually learn how to have mature relationships with them, which means having boundaries. I recommend you read the book Boundaries. I'll put a link in the description here, but it's a really good book. It's got a lot of Christian themes to it and theology, but you can ignore all the theological parts of it and just read the book and just understand the boundaries issue, because you need to set boundaries and you need to speak. You need to communicate. All right. You can't just run away and hide from your family. Okay. You need to get out of the toxic environment, but from a distance, then reestablish communication and establish communication on a mature level, because there's a lot of boundaries being violated and you're trying to violate boundaries as well. Right. There's so much boundaries being violated here that I'm not even going to go into the details. So read that book. All right.
I made the mistake of telling my father, my younger brother, one of them at least, and my older brother of my importance of learning financial literacy and how I want to retire young, and they mock me. It's very unfortunate that my own family does not support my endeavors. So my question to you is, do you think it's time to move out? Yes, move out. It's like I said before, it's like that biblical verse. It's like, don't throw your pearls to swine. So don't share with people stuff that they are going to use to diminish you, right? You need to do the things in your life because you choose to do them. And if you tell your father and your younger brother and your older brother about you learning financial literacy and wanting to retire young, they're going to mock you because they're idiots. All right. You're on the right path. You're doing the right thing in life, but you don't need to tell anyone. You don't need anyone's approval. It'd be great if you had someone to share that with, but share that with people who are on the same path as you, that are already supporting you, that are going to want what's best for you and aren't going to be threatened by that. You don't need to share it with your father. You don't need to share it with your younger brother. In fact, what you do is you get on that path to financial literacy. You learn how to retire young, and you set an example for them, and then they will come to you on their own and they'll be like, hey, maybe you could talk to me about some of this financial stuff you're learning. Maybe that's how you do it. A lot of times what people try to do is they start growing, they start developing themselves, learning stuff, and then they start to shove it down everyone's throat. And again, I'm not saying necessarily what you're doing. You're probably just trying to share it with them, but that's how other people perceive it, and they get angry and resentful. It's the whole crabs in the bucket thing. So just be careful with that, and don't share things with people who don't deserve to have them shared with them. So, all right, last part here. Maybe this could be answered in a video for anybody who needs to read a story like this. Just finish your How to Stop Being Lazy book, and you talk about how your environment has to be conducive to our goals and endeavors. Man, I do not even have a space to buy a desktop and a keyboard to set it up without my father or sister bitching. Again, thank you for your time, and we appreciate any advice you have. So like I said, wrapping this up, just get out of that environment, and you shouldn't be there anyway. It's a good thing that you're living with your sister, because that makes it really clear. And like, I don't have any mixed thoughts about giving you advice here. So move out, be your own man, and figure out how to learn proper boundaries and to deal with your family. Also, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you join the Bulldog Mindset membership. Again, if you're looking for the support, right? You talked about how you couldn't share with your family, your financial goals, and that you want to retire early and young. Bulldog Mindset membership. Click the link down below. $7 for the first month. And then, and we've got just a huge community of guys where you can actually get that support, where you can find people who share that same mindset of you, who are not going to bring you down here, they're actually going to lift you up. That's one of the main reasons why the Bulldog Mindset membership is so awesome. So if you guys haven't joined, make sure you check it out. Even for the first month, it's $7 just to start out. I think you're going to find a great group of men. One of the things that you have to know in life is that in order to become a strong man, you have to be around strong men. And so that's really critical. Most guys growing up today do not have strong male influences in their lives. And so that's what I've created with the Bulldog Mindset membership, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. So go check that out. So anyway, in closing, move out, read the Boundaries book, and do not sleep in the same room with your sister ever.